Hello, episode 5 about blockages, resistances and love. My teacher says to discover the obstacles, the failures, the resistances in one's being, in one's own consciousness, isn't a defeat, it's a great victory. And one should not lament, one should rejoice. And about love? It is not what one sees and hears that one loves. It is love that one loves, through the forms and sounds, and of all love, the most perfect love. The most loving love is the Lord's love. She described her own corresponding experience with, it was an extraordinary, intense experience. One cannot love anything but love, and it is love that one loves behind all things. It is love that one loves. It is love that loves itself everywhere. And she further says, we see that of all powers, love is obviously the mightiest, the most integral in that it applies to all cases. It is even mightier than the power of purification, which dissolves bad wills and is, in a way, master over the adverse forces, but which doesn't have the direct transforming power, because the power of purification must first dissolve in order to form again later. It destroys one form to make a better one from it, while love doesn't need to dissolve in order to transform. It has the direct transforming power. Love is like the flame changing the heart into the malleable, then sublimating even the malleable into a kind of purified vapor. It does not destroy, it transforms. Love in its essence and in its origin is like a white flame obliterating all resistances. You can have the experience yourself, whatever the difficulty in your being, whatever the weight of accumulating mistakes, the ignorance, incapacity, bad will. A single second of this love, pure, essential, supreme, melts everything in its almighty flame. One single moment and an entire past can vanish. One single touch of that in its essence and the whole burden is consumed. It's easy to understand how someone who has this experience can spread it and act upon others, since to have it, you must touch the unique supreme essence of the whole manifestation, the origin and the essence, the source and the reality of all that is. Then you immediately enter the realm of unity, where there's no more separation among individuals. It is a single vibration that can repeat itself endlessly in outer forms. Unquote. Yet, at that time, I was writing this, I was still asking, so, where is the unknown dream woman now of the year 2017? In my last episode, I told you about her in front of my gate near the colony. Well, after my experience with her then, for the next few days, the only thing I could think of, what could help me as a next step, was to record everything in connection with the event, whatever might be happening. So I did. And here is my record. Even now, the next morning, there's no doubt in my heart and in my mind that I have encountered one of the strongest experiences of this kind I ever had. It is life-changing, whatever it may have been. The content of it, on the outside though, reads like the cheap script of a soap opera. According to the script, it seems, after much confusion, I have met a being I seem to be in love with in indescribable ways. I'm feeling deeply happy and lucky, blessed by the gods. Thanks. All of this has not changed so far till now, even after coming back to my normal state of mind during the next days. My feelings and the insights remain the same while I am writing down all of this. They are so strong and real that I almost cannot bear it. Nothing else seems to matter anymore. The dream world has taken possession of part of my mind, promising unknown purpose. I do not seem to be interested in anything else. There is but only one question left. Who and where is this being? Will I meet her in the normal world and normal reality? And how will we find each other again? Back to normal? After some reflection, I cannot avoid the suspicion that the patterns of behavior governing my relationship to my real partners in normal life, to a large extent, correspond to the patterns which I was following with that unknown woman of my dream reality, both in their aspects of conflict but also in relation to the idea of marriage. The idea of a new wife again being the wrong partner is a nightmare. But to get into a lasting relationship, on the other hand, seems to be the most popular goal for most of us. Even in animal life, it appears to be a major urge, guaranteeing survival. But is it only to secure offspring? It seems to be a dominant force also in our subconscious layers. And when I decided to move to Brazil for our consciousness development project, one part of the motivation for my decision to dare the project was supported by my hope for a romantic relationship with E, my Brazilian partner. Yet, I still refuse to draw practical conclusions from contents of dream realities. I'm reeling still from the present one, and I have to consider that our mental parts may be nothing but a kind of TV screen on which our souls, for their own purpose and enjoyment, project movies. Seen from this point of view, it does not seem to be surprising that our patterns of behavior keep on repeating themselves in any area of life, until we hopefully get out of it. Some people even believe it may be impossible to get rid of them in one single lifetime. If this is true, it is only logical to assume that there have to be similarities in my experiences at different periods of time, operating in my behavior patterns with any woman I am attracted to, in whatever reality and periods of time they may occur, as my past in the present reality is showing. Thus, the woman of my dream may be nothing but a mental projection and formation in my mind and energy system, or not. I conclude that the best way for me out of the whole affair is to step back and keep as quiet as possible, and to take the easy mental position that all of this has just been an interesting dream originated by my unfulfilled desires. When time will have passed, I would reconsider. Yet, in fact, my feelings do not support this notion, as if I encounter a reality I have no reference points for. I added in a spat of grim humor, "At least I should know the name of the bride I have asked to marry me. And what will I do with somebody from some other world when I need somebody here in flesh and blood?" Now, one more nightmare has set in. All of this may be nothing but a trick played by universal forces. Then, once I am being made the eternal fool of some game of some occult entity again, I will be unable to grasp and to understand. For sure, this is not the first time that something like this has happened to me. So I have to be cautious and to look at it from the point of view of different possibilities. The assumption of the unreality of my experience looks to be much more likely and convenient and much less scary than the idea that this female force is somewhere existing and waiting to take me in. We are the eternal fools and remain so till we die. Though we are convinced that we are in control, but we never are. Inside those insane games, we are unable to avoid and to understand. I'm still the blocked maroon, not knowing anything. The half-monkey, created by some superior beings for some unknown purposes. Point blank, period. I conclude, only now I begin to get glimpses of what I may have gotten into, and I can sense a growing feeling of uneasiness. 26/8/2017. The next shock, completely unexpected and not at all reckoned with by me, was already waiting for me in the middle of one of my special nights, as I call them. Up till this moment, I have been following in my outer mental considerations of the event with a new female force by mostly considering the patterns and belief systems of my surface consciousness, interpreting the experience as a mental projection in the shape and form of some mysterious female. Thus, I have allowed myself to react to the event also emotionally, while being busy to describe and interpret what has happened, accepting it as a fleeting dream. But the whole event changed in my view dramatically in that specific night when I was doing my exercises. And it happened not as a dream, but when I was fully awake. My exercises usually include yoga, mental work, meditation and pranayama. I've chosen the nights for this in order to have sufficient time. The moment I woke up in that night for my exercises, I realized that there was a profound change. The clear presence of this new female entity appeared to be so strong in one conscious part of my system that I flinched. I clearly sensed the actual presence of this being already there, waiting for me, smiling at me. I simply panicked. I clearly could make out another person within me, at my side, and it was her. I had become her. I was feeling that I was not one anymore, that I was two now, and that I had gone nuts. This is the only way I can describe it. The perception was so strong that I stopped everything, trying to breathe and to let go. Taking notes would not work. I was too agitated. I hardly could concentrate. Whatever was going on, I understood, I needed to integrate and to detach from. My head seemed to burst. I assume now that I have been accessing with my normal awareness the same layer of consciousness as in my dream, where I've met the being the first time. I'm feeling her now again, but also as part of my outer self. I now am experiencing myself as two beings. This now is different. Another additional presence seems to be within me, is part of me, angel or devil. I've started to mix up different realities, different layers of consciousness and corresponding parts of myself. With what or whom am I one now for real? This being seems to have become part of me, and I have become part of it. Later, I further wrote, I realize I have lost essential orientations. Most probably I am going crazy, losing my mental balance. I feel giddy in my brain and sick in my stomach. Around my head, something like a band of steel squeezes my skull together. I conclude that there's only one way out for me now. This is to focus my attention on common sense, asking for help and protection. I underline the following command I give to myself. Avoiding any mental speculation and interpretation, I strictly stick to experiences. I rigorously follow my physical exercises. I will avoid to consciously and deliberate contact this being wherever it may be. I am asking for help. One of the means in periods of crisis, I know by experience, is to follow a strict physical discipline, which gives the chance to regain attention. That is, when and if one is lucky. Because I now remember a time when I was not lucky this way by regaining attention with the help of physical exercises. It happened years ago while I was going through one of the major psychological energetic processes in my life, when I had not been able to follow a discipline centered on the body. I had lost control when some part of my nervous system governing the brain and the organs went nuts. It had pushed me to the brink. The involved unknown energies that had caused it were so strong that even certain brain centers, or God knows what else, ceased functioning temporarily. It had lasted for 2 months. During this time, for instance, I not only had lost temporarily the capacity for physical exercises like push-ups or knee bends, etc., but even I could not count simple numbers anymore. Further, any direction of my attention on my body had caused nothing but the perception of an orange-red colored flame coming from my solar plexus center, causing excruciating, unbearable pains all over my system. For weeks I had not been able to sleep properly, and after recovery, my sleep had been reduced to 4 hours a day. The last thing I want now is a repetition of that. The whole phenomenon that was happening years ago made me lose 20 kilos of weight, and only after going to Germany and recovering there I got back to a sort of normal condition. It took me 3 years of intense research in order to integrate and to understand what was happening, until I finally found in one of the classical Indian books on special types of yoga the explanation I knew was true for me as well. I involuntarily had touched the source of a secret energy hidden in the depths of our physical selves. So now, after my latest experience with the unknown dream woman, I again may need help and information. It is obvious that my hope to have learned at least some of the lessons of how consciousness works is but another delusion. I know nothing. To whom can I talk about this? And moreover, this time, there seem to be even other beings involved from different realities. Am I possessed or partially taken over? My final command, I'm improving the quality of my sadhana. I'm being cleansed and I'm cleansing myself. I surrender to the highest. Now, in 2023, more than 6 years after, while making this video here, I asked the tarot, what do I need to know about all of this now? And what should I learn? I've used only 6 cards. Here is their symbolic answer on my question. The card symbolizing the past shows 4 of Cups. Meaning of the card, disgust for shallow, empty outer things. The card for the present shows the moon. Meaning of the card, occult worlds. The card for the future shows 7 of Swords. Meaning of the card, manipulation. The card for conscious support shows Knight of Cups. Meaning of the card, romanticism without delusions. The card symbolizing conscious help shows King of Wands. Meaning of the card, the need to find solutions. And the card for the lesson to learn shows the Fool. Meaning of the card, beware of the path of your soul inside the physical universe. My interpretation of the underlying answers of the Tarot on my question, somebody reincarnated in this world following his or her path is being disgusted with the shallow, empty affairs of the outer world. He or she turns to the occult worlds, searching for the invisible. He or she is encountering mysterious presences that can be mastered only by listening to the heart and getting rid of old and impeding psychological patterns, which even govern romantic relationships and cause the consequent drive for manipulation and control. We have to find practical ways to open up and deal with our true being, focus on the union of spirit and matter and the path our soul has chosen for us. Thanks and Namaste.